Hello everyone, I'm Esmeraldapadillagould and welcome to Vegas Vibes. On Vegas Vibes, I'll be featuring amazingly talented people from many walks of life who contribute to making Las Vegas a unique global brand. And on that note, here with us today is a singer-songwriter, a co-founder of Jazz Eclectic, the Duke of Jazz Noir, Mr. Niles Thomas. Hello,
Hi.
Mr. Thomas. How are you?
I'm good. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's nice to meet you.
Thank you. You too.
This is the first time meeting you, and I've heard a lot of good things. Well, first of all, you're a great musician yourself. Tell us a little background about yourself, like where did you grow up, and what brought you to Las Vegas?
Yeah, I was born and raised in California, and then I started playing music when I was a boy, 15 years old, 14 years old. And but back then I was more into rock and roll and things like that. And then not until I was getting older will I really got into jazz and R&B and stuff like that. When I was growing up, though, my family was about, it was Motown music and jazz music and country music, of all things. And I don't know how, growing up that way, I got into what I'm in now, but I love it. Yeah, I have friends that have lived here for many years that are in the music industry that are from other, New York and such. And then one day I came out here to visit and to work in the studio with a friend of mine. He said, "Why don't you, come out to Vegas and just live? We should work together closer. We've been friends for 20 years." And at the time, I wasn't ready. But oddly enough, about 3 months later, when I went back home, I woke up one morning and something struck me, and I'm like, I need to go to Vegas. And it was the strangest thing ever. And
this was 3 years ago.
This was 3 years ago, yeah. So I'm still new to Vegas, but I love it here. I really love it. And since being here, I didn't know what to expect. You never really do when you're moving somewhere, obviously, but I'm just mesmerized by this place. I love the community and there's the people here. It's just been an amazing time since being here.
So are you a full-time musician?
Yes, and producer.
Producer, and a songwriter as well.
Yes.
So let's talk about your music.
Yeah. So musically, up until about 5-6 years ago, I was signed with, I was under Warner Bros. Label as well as EMI's label, EMI Music, for a long time, for about 10 years between the two of them. And then, the music climate changed, and at the time I didn't want to renew my contract. So I started just doing my own thing, and then I was being asked to write and produce for other artists, which I hadn't done before because I was too busy with my own career and traveling the world and being a bit self-absorbed, and then, but I found that I really loved producing different artists and even different styles of music, and it just became very natural for me. So ever since, I love that as well because it's a nice balance between the two of producing, whether it's pop music, country music, R&B artists, jazz artists, and then my own thing, which a lot of jazz purists wouldn't call what I do jazz, but it is. It's a combination of jazz meets pop kind of influences. And back in the day, we think of Sinatra as a jazz artist, but it's bebop. It's not just straight ahead, traditional jazz. So that's what I bring to the table with the music is I like to write, where you get hooky choruses and people can remember and sing back to them, and so I think that's why when my co-founder, partner, friend of mine, Bijan, we developed Jazz Eclectic for that reason alone, to try to bring something new out. In what we all know of jazz is what we all know of jazz. So now, by bringing an eclectic blend of different artists that are up and coming, and luckily, because of where we've been with our careers, we're able to ask our friends that are Grammy-winning and Grammy-nominated artists to come and join us on stage. And as a result, it's just been amazing. So this all of the season of 2018, the home of Jazz Eclectic is at the Smith Center at Myron's Cabaret Jazz Room. And they've just treated us incredible, and that's the home for the Jazz Eclectic, and we just couldn't be more excited to continue all of 2019. So we've got dates lined up for 2019. Our next show is coming up February 27th.
Yes, that's why you're here. You're going
Yeah.
to plug your show.
Yeah, that's featuring Grammy winner Bill Cunliffe and a special guest, Andy James. She's an incredible singer, and she's, I don't know if she's from Vegas, but I know she's back and forth a lot, so she's incredible as well. So, we're very excited about this upcoming show.
And you also do that to give back to the community. You have mentioned it's a charity event
Yes.
as well.
I've been a part of a cancer organization called the Life Second Chance Foundation, and we're basically building a new hospital in Ethiopia. And I've been a part of this organization for quite a number of years. And so now it's wonderful that the founder of the organization, we invite her to our concerts, and she has a company called Waz Cafe, which is a coffee grind, Ethiopian coffee company. So all the funds, when people buy coffee, all those funds go directly to the Life Second Chance Foundation, which is it's just been amazing. So we love being a part of that and giving back. So it's important.
That's great.
For us.
It makes you become a humanitarian as
Oh
well.
yeah, I mean, when you're young, getting into music and the arts, you're doing it because you want to, maybe be famous. You want these different accolades, and then you realize as you get older, those things can change. And so, when I performed in Ethiopia, and I performed at the UN and with many different ambassadors representing different countries for this organization, for the Cancer Society. It was that moment after the performance and speaking in front of these dignitaries. I walked outside of the UN after everything was finished, and it hit me so hard. And I realized at that moment that this is why I do music. It's touching the hearts and touching the hearts of people worldwide. But being able to do something and really give back and try to bring unity, and that's the most beautiful aspect of music. So it's changed
You
from
found
being
a
a young.
different purpose. in a way.
Absolutely, yeah, and I love it.
And what's the best way is to give through your music with what you're passionate
Absolutely. I mean, when you start writing a song in your room or in your studio, you don't realize the effect it can have on people till after the fact, and sometimes they hit people in different ways, and that's what's beautiful about it. And so I think you get to see, from a performer's point of view, you get to see that when you're performing live, and you see people that are just looking up and just mesmerized by what you're doing or what they're listening to, and it's just such a gift, because you realize, like, wow, you're touching people in a way that music touches me as a fan or as a listener. I mean, music touches us all, I think, in such a incredible way.
What's the best compliment you've ever heard from your fans?
It's really that. The biggest compliment was when I was in Ethiopia, in terms of the heartfelt, just the Minister of Health had told me that, your music is incredible. And I was a little embarrassed because I said I'm not a good, I had to speak beforehand. I said, I'm not a good speaker, but what I'm about to tell you is from my heart. And I had something written out, on the flight over, which is hours and hours and hours. But then I remember getting on the podium, and I just kind of put the paper in front of me, and I'm just going to let this go. And I don't remember exactly what I said, but whatever it was from my heart. And he had told me afterwards, please don't ever say you're not a great speaker or not great at touching people's hearts, because you've touched me in a way I've never could have imagined. And that hit me pretty hard. That was a strange reality,
Yeah, I think you can never go wrong if you speak from your heart, because
Yeah,
that's really precious.
it is, yeah.
So what's the most defining moment of your career?
Interestingly enough, there's multiple, but the one that always comes to mind is, I remember when I was I was really young. I don't remember how old. I might have been 10 years old. And this was a time when MTV, the channel, was just up and coming. I don't want to age myself.
I remember that.
But this was back in, very early 80s. And I remember I was, I think, at my grandmother's house in Texas, and I just said, one of these days I'm going to be on MTV. And I didn't know what I was saying. It was just one of those kind of dreams, I guess. And it ultimately happened. I was traveling, touring Europe a lot when I was signed, and when they told me that this music video is being played on MTV in these different countries, it was an interesting phone call. It's just like, oh my God, it happened. So that was probably the biggest thing in terms of, when you have a dream when you're a little kid and then something happens and like your dream comes true. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So
surreal.
So what's your, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? What would you like to accomplish? I know you've done so much, you have traveled the world, but what else is there to do?
There's so much to do. I mean, with Jazz Eclectic, what we're doing is building what we call the art and lifestyle of jazz, where it's more than the music. It's about how you dress. It's about the kind of food that you eat, the places that you, total lifestyle. We always have conversations, if you're going to you drink wine, normally you pair it with, this would be great with this kind of food, or I can smell the berries or whatever it's going to be. We don't do that. Between Bijan and I, we have conversations like, man, this wine would be great with this Miles Davis tune. We start taking the idea of music, pairing it with wine or a cocktail, or what color jacket are you wearing? Because that's going to go well with this, or fashion, food. I have friends that are executive chefs, and ask them all the time. It's like, can music influence, or does it influence a dish that you're making, or vice versa? And some say absolutely, and some say no. But then they go, but now that you say it, maybe when you have music in the background, it maybe does
what is it for
inspire. In terms of, what is it for me?
Yeah, does it influence you? It
influences me in every way. I
music.
think in everything that I do in life, art in general. It just, everything. From, the way that you dress, from the food that you eat, to the car that you drive, it could be anything. Art is always a huge influence on my life, on every level.
And who are your biggest influences?
Wow.
As far as artists, or maybe
the reason why I got into music when I was a boy is because I wanted to be like Sting and the Police, and then being such a huge Sting fan, especially back then when he was in the Police, and then moving on from that, which incidentally got me into jazz. Because when he left that band, when he left the Police, he started integrating jazz musicians. And that's what even though jazz was always playing in my house when I was a kid, it never hit me to that degree until when Sting did it. I'm like, oh, he's opening up a new door into that world. And I thought that was extremely interesting. It was, I think, a really cool recipe of bringing what he does as a pop artist and bringing jazz influence into that and making it even more of a commercial style of music. Which is what I love about it. But everything from Sade, Brian Ferry, all these, Peter Gabriel, all these amazing artists. So.
I wish we had more time, but please invite everybody.
Yes, so we're performing at the Smith Center at we're performing at the Smith Center, Myron's Cabaret Jazz, on February 27th with special guest Grammy Award-winning Bill Cunliffe, and featuring vocalist Andy James. So we look forward to seeing you there. It's going to be an incredible show.
And how can people find you?
Just go to jazzeclectic.com.
And what words of wisdom or pieces of advice would you suggest to anyone who would like to be a great musician like yourself?
Oh, thank you. Well, with Jazz Eclectic, we in fact have a educational component to what we do. So we're always inspiring young musicians coming up at the local schools around our community. The thing I always tell young artists coming up is just don't be afraid to be you.
That's a great advice.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Niles Thomas.
You.
It's such a pleasure having you in VegasVibes.
Thank you for having me.
And I wish you continued success, and yes, keep empower people around the world through your music.
Thank you.
And thank you for giving back to the community, creating all these special events.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to the art and lifestyle of jazz. The sensationally popular Jazz Eclectic Concert Series returns to the Smith Center this winter for Volume 5 on February 27th. But wait, what's the Jazz Eclectic? The Jazz Eclectic is a live concert series and radio show co-founded by world-renowned trumpeter Bijan Watson, who's performed and recorded with some of the most respected names in music, including the likes of Michael Bublé, Diana Krall, Natalie Cole, the Clayton Hamilton Jazz Orchestra, Harry Connick Jr. to Justin Timberlake, and co-founder, acclaimed singer-songwriter, and the Duke of Jazz Noir, Niles Thomas, increasing the awareness and participation in diverse musical experiences worldwide. And as one of the coolest and most influential presenters of the new jazz age, attracting an enthusiastic newfound audience, we present an eclectic blend of world-renowned artists, including Grammy-winning and Grammy nominees, whose music and artistry embody the art and lifestyle of jazz. Volume 5 is excited to present very special guests, Grammy Award winner and Emmy nominee, pianist, composer, producer, arranger, Bill Cunliffe. Bill has performed and arranged with the Buddy Rich Big Band and has worked with the chairman of the board himself, Frank Sinatra, and performed with the likes of Freddie Hubbard, Benny Golson, and the Clayton Hamilton Jazz Orchestra, to name a few. Produced by Bill Cunliffe, the Jazz Eclectic is also proud to welcome critically acclaimed vocalist Andy James. Andy's sensual vocals are sympathetically accompanied by a piano-driven jazz combo and will be showcasing her original songs, as well as dusting off the emotionality of a timeless standard with sensitivity and flair. The Jazz Eclectic is also thrilled to welcome the radiant and provocative vocalist, Courtney Fortune.
Cold night kept me burning.
Who performs with iconic pianist David Benoit and produced by 7-time Grammy-nominated composer-arranger Chris Walden, to perform and co-host with Bijan Watson and Niles Thomas. So there it is. Are you ready to enter into the eclectic and luxurious world of the art and lifestyle of jazz? Then we invite you to experience Volume 5 of the Jazz Eclectic Concert Series on February 27th, 2019. This is a night you'll never forget. Get your tickets today.
Nina Simone, don't
Well, once again, I'm Esmeraldapadillagould. Catch me again next time as I feature another amazing personality here on VegasVibes. Thank you so much to my wardrobe sponsor, Anne Fontaine. Anne Fontaine is located at the Forum Shops in Caesar's Palace. Thank you so much, Miss Anna Billings. Take care, God bless, and see you next time.